Hi family, welcome to Intimate Conversations with Francis O'Brien, healing one heart at a time. It's another episode, an exciting one. I hope you're doing well. Make sure that you grab a cup of coffee, a drink, whatever floats your boat, a snack perhaps. Kick your feet up. I'm pranking around and relax. It's going to be another interesting topic, and I hope you're ready for it, and I hope that you open your hearts and your minds to hear the message that I have to share with you guys today. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. It's still a rainy period. It's still a rainy week, so I'm enjoying it. Lots of indoor time, which I'm not enjoying because I really miss being out on the road for a run. But before I waste too much time, let's get into today's topic, which is interesting. So today's topic is titled, "Just because he puts a ring on your finger doesn't mean he is your husband." I'm sure you're thinking, how can you say that? But obviously, if he put a ring on my finger, that means he's my husband, etc., etc. Hold up, wait a minute. So obviously this is coming again from personal experience. I'm sure you guys are thinking, Francis, what kind of life did you live? I'm a normal chick, and like every other chick or every other woman, I've been vulnerable in certain instances, and it's just unfortunate, but they've been learning curves for me, and now I'm ready to share them with my sisters and my brothers around the world. So ladies, if you feel this is something that your men are going to learn from, as a bit of a hint to say, honey, don't waste my time type tip, then go ahead and share the video with him. So, scenario before I get into the video. So it's a beautiful time, it's a beautiful period in our dating life, and I used to wear a dress ring, especially on my wedding finger, and I was dating at this time, eh? So, long story short, he sneakily did a proposal, and I wasn't awake. I'm not even going to look at the spiritual aspect of that, but yeah, that's a topic for another day. I'm really not going to delve into the spiritual impact of that act in itself. I wasn't awake when this ring was slipped on, and it was years. You ladies remember that movie? I think it's Diary of a Mad Black Woman, and I can't remember the actress's name. Please don't bash me, guys. But she's the one who falls asleep, and when she wakes up in the morning, she was married to Orlando. And then, she was dating Orlando. I can't remember who she was married to, but it was like a big shot lawyer. And then obviously when she's at her boyfriend's house, she's still married and she's going through a divorce with her husband. So when she's at her boyfriend's house, she goes into the bathroom in the morning, and, she wakes up and she starts propping her hair and stuff like that. And then out of the corner of her eye, she spots the ring. It was a similar incident with me. Similar to the T. But this was almost a decade before. So probably brother had moves. But anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited. But I don't really recall him getting on his knee and saying, Francis, will you be my wife type of thing. It was always just a conversation where it's just like a line said, I'll marry you. You're my woman. You're my wife. And everywhere we go, this is my wife. That type of thing. So you as I said in my previous video, beware of the decisions that you make when you are, or rather beware of this state of being, your state of being when you're making big decisions. Do you know, ladies, that you actually have a decision to say no when a guy proposes to you? And a lot of us are so scared. And like I said in the previous video, because we are so moved by life and society and personal pressures and family and stuff like that, so impulsively we get into these relationships with these guys and we don't even think twice. And a lot of us are so excited to wear that ring and just, look at it and think, oh, I'm finally engaged. I'm somebody's wife. There's nothing wrong with that fantasy. Don't get me wrong, ladies. There's nothing wrong with that fantasy. There's something wrong with the individual putting the ring on your finger that you haven't thought clearly over. That's the problem. So anyway, fast forward, it was a cheap ring. And he bought a style. That's another thing. If you guys are discussing as a couple, the type of ring that you like, maybe out of, just like in a light conversational tone. It's not like you're hinting to your boyfriend that this is what you want from him specifically. I just like these kinds of rings, this type of ring design. And I remember telling this individual that I liked this specific ring and I don't like this specific ring. And guess what? He got the ring I detested to the T. He got exactly that ring. But because you're in the moment, it's like, oh, it's a ring, it's a ring, it's a ring. But honestly, I had a sharp tongue still then, and I said, oh, but it's a ring that I don't really like. You know, he's just like, no, don't worry, I'll get a better one. I just thought I should get this. I don't know whether in his mind it was like, quick, let me hook this chick up. Let me attach her quickly so she doesn't run. Let me make sure, let me mark her as my territory so that other people will know that, yeah, she's got somebody, that type tip. I don't know what the urgency was as to why he couldn't have waited and saved money to get the ring that I would actually like and wear. I don't know. Another thing is, I didn't pray over it really. I thought I did, and because of impulse, and you know when you think God has spoken, but it's your own words and it's your own booming voice in your head. And most time God's voice doesn't boom; it's actually very quiet, right in your chest. It's very quiet. It's very quiet. And I thought I would hear this booming voice. He's your husband. He's the one. Yes. So, like I said in the other video, I'm very theatrical and animated. So forgive me. So I didn't really know much about this person's background. I really didn't know much about this person's upbringing. I didn't know much about his, his visions, his goals, his, there was a lot of talk around it, but it was all iffy. It was all iffy. It was all in the pipelines. That's a better word. It was all in the pipelines, and you're young at that time. You think, no, this is somebody I'm going to grow. I'm going to have time to grow with and stuff like that. And I know that's another mindset of a lot of women to say, we're still young. If you're still young at the time, and you think, yeah, no, we can grow together and stuff like that. There are some people whose marriages will kick off instantaneously, and they are God ordained. So let's not be judgmental there. And then there are some that just take off and it's a whirlwind of the devil. It's a hurricane of the devil. The person is swirling around and there is just no direction. Obviously there's no direction if you're swirling, but I think you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I think I got caught up in the moment. And I wore this ring for a long time, only for me to realize that it was a very cheap ring. It was coated in gold and it eventually tarnished, and it was left with copper, and I was livid. I can't even tell you, this person there didn't only pick the ring himself, he actually consulted somebody to help pick the ring with him. Now ladies, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes guys go with their best friends, and this wasn't even his best friend. I'm not even going to mention who he went with. I was just excuse me. So anyway, I got the ring and I'm caught up in the moment thinking, yes, I'm going to be Mrs. So-and-so. Yeah. I think a lot of people, especially those who are divorcees, will relate to this video. And like my previous video, I said, beware of your mental state of being, or your state of being the time you make major decisions. I think a lot of divorcees are going to resonate with this video because they will understand, or they will agree that indeed this wasn't their partner. Because people are so desperate to get hitched, because people are so desperate to become a Mrs. somebody and to have a title of husband or a title of wife. I say kudos to people who are bold enough to actually walk away from that kind of commitment. Ladies, you are not pressured to say yes because he put a ring on your finger. You are not pressured to say yes. The only person who's giving you pressure, can I tell you now who it is? It is you. You are the only one who's giving yourself pressure. I got caught up in the moment and I was so excited, and I went home and told my mom, and I was like, ugh. I think after some time, the so-called engagement ring was now somewhere in the kitchen on the windowsill, and that was when it had started tarnishing. Yeah, getting caught up in the moment is not a good thing. It really isn't. Ladies, you have to pray about this decision. Men, you have to pray about this decision. Just because you buy a ring, just because you see a woman there and she is like Coca-Cola bottle, doesn't mean she's your wife. Guys, don't be fixated with the way a woman looks, and be fixated with the way she thinks. I know men are very, very visual characters, or very, very, very visual beings. If you meet a woman and she's got a beautiful heart and she is somebody that you believe, and perhaps she's a bit on the chubby side or she's overweight, men, you know what, there is nothing your love cannot do for a woman to transform her into the swan from the ugly duckling that she may be at that time. All of us are never really at our best when we meet our potential partners. Some of us are at our best. A few of us, actually, majority of us, are never really at our best. We just stumble across these people and, hey, we wing it. Either they make us, better, or they make us worse in terms of appearance, attitude, emotion, state of being, finances, whatever the case is. So not all of us are really spick and span. Not all of us are in that, are really proper, when we meet these men or when we meet these women. This is why I emphasize all the time that it's important for you to make sure that you are an individual. You are trying your best in your single moments to elevate yourself, to increase yourself, to improve yourself, so that you are the best version of yourselves when you meet each other. It's not about the one person, but again, take this with a pinch of salt, because God brings two people together for them with the intent that they're whole beings already, and all they're doing is coming together as whole beings to form a one solid being to take over the world and to do the purpose that God has brought those people together for. Yes, some people, some relationships, God can bring your wife or your husband as somebody to really help you, to grow you, to make you a better person, that type of thing. Everybody's circumstance is different, but don't be moved. An engagement, there's a popular saying by this nationality that says an engagement is just a booking. It's not something permanent, so perhaps you should treat it that way. You can say yes now out of impulse, but you can still take your time to say, I'm really still thinking about this. Just because I accepted the ring, yes, I accepted it, but I don't think I'm ready yet. Just give me time. There's nothing wrong with you taking your time. There isn't. I can't emphasize that enough. So this person takes his, I'm wearing this person's ring, and then there were specs every time. This person just is not my husband. The thinking was just different. The behavior was just different. The reasoning was different. The, purposes were different. Everything was just like this, eh? Nothing seemed to be moving that way. Everything was like this. Why do you do this? Yeah, because I do that. I'm thinking, okay, I wouldn't do that. Detour. And there was just so many. But still I'd look at that ring and think, yeah, but we can make this work. We can make this work. And you're now moved by the object, and you're not moved by your heart. You're not moved by your instinct. Women, you're not moved by God. It is important to not be overwhelmed by that moment. And that moment can last a very long time. And especially in women's heads, we really swoon over romance, especially if the guy has really taken his time to pull out all the stops and the roses and the candles and maybe a trip somewhere, and he's booked you for this, and he's taken you for facials and beauty and a whole, shopping spree, wardrobe upgrade, that type of thing. It's very easy to get caught up in that moment. But I still implore you to take your time. Men also take your time. Just because you put a ring on a woman doesn't mean she's your wife. It doesn't. You people still need to go through counseling together if you believe in that. Especially, and I do really. I'm a big fan of that. Where you go for premarital counseling, where and it can take as long as you guys want. Yes, I know some certain courses take a specific period of time, but also rely on the Holy Spirit and His guiding. Rely on God, so that the day you stand with your partner at an altar and the pastor says, what God has put together, let no man put asunder. It is because you both know deep down in your heart that God has brought you both together. You're both, He has shown you signs, He has shown you everything that is necessary for His pairing of you two. It will make sense. It'll click. It doesn't have to make sense to everybody else, And that's a topic for another day, because that's also deserving of breaking down, because obviously your family and your friends, they also have to be very supportive of this relationship. If there's cracks there, and I've touched that in my life story as well, and in other topics, if there's cracks there, then it becomes an issue. So I've seen a lot of women who have impulsively gotten into relationships, who have gotten into marriages, and when you ask them certain questions as to, but how did you guys meet? And you can tell an almost immediate sorrow in her eyes, because it wasn't something she thought out properly. It wasn't something she asked for, so it wasn't something she sought God's opinion on, consent on. You know, and men as well, you know, they've put rings on women and they have really absolutely regretted it, you know. And I'm sorry, but there's some women who can really pretend for days, and they don't show their true colors to these men. And these men, all of a sudden, they put rings on these women thinking they found themselves a diamond in the rough, and they have found themselves a piece of coal in a mine shaft. And that is not to be rude, but it is being honest. It is being honest. And I'll talk on that topic, and you know, at a much later stage, I'm sure, or in one of my subsequent videos. So be very careful when, you know, when a guy comes in your life and you guys are dating. It's so sad to see people, and I've been, you know, being one of those where you're caught up in the moment and you latch onto that moment for so long in such false hope of things turning around and things changing, that you think this person is actually ordained by God for you. You actually convince yourself that you people are meant to be together. Men can really paint a very good picture. If you are his target, he will do anything and say everything to get you, especially when he's taken his time to study you, especially when he's taken his time to, you know, to understand your highs and your lows, and your likes and your dislikes. And he knows how to really move around your space to win you over. You may really think you found somebody who gets you, who understands you. Ladies, be very careful. Be very careful. Again, in another video, I'm saying the same thing. Take your time. There is no rush. There is no reason for you to be jumping into certain relationships simply because you feel, oh my God, this guy, if I don't catch him, another chick will. If he's for another chick, then let him be for another chick. We are the prize. He that finds a wife finds a good thing. That's why it's important for you, as you know, as Ruth was busy in the fields, be busy with yourself. Because when he finds you, guess what? You are the prize. You are the prize. But as he finds you, can he find you doing something? Can he find you doing something about your life? Not just, hey, if this man comes, all of my, you know, all of my problems will be solved. Yeah, I'll be able to go to school. Like, how can you look at another man's, you know, at another person's child as your savior? Like, really? If he is meant by God to be your savior, then he will be your savior. Ladies, like I'm saying, it's not for you to really pretend now just because you want a ring and you're pressured by a whole lot of things. And I'll touch on that on another video. I'm talking about the women here getting overexcited about men proposing to them, and, you know, before you know it, they're filing for divorce. And can I tell you, ne, when you are excited about this type of, when you know that this person, that there's something offish about that relationship, can I tell you, ne, before you know it, you people are going to start fighting and arguing. But because it's put her ring in, because people around, you've gone running your mouth and you've told people, yes, this is my fiance, this is my husband, he done put a ring on that. And you've told all these people, guess what? You're going to now start living and creating and living a facade. You're going to start filling in that canvas, painting in all the paints that you feel are deserving on that canvas, because you are filling this, you're fulfilling this image that you've painted to all your friends, that, oh my God, I have met the right person, I have met my husband, I have met my God-ordained partner. You haven't even taken the time to know this person, let alone yourself for that matter. Some of us may have taken the time to know ourselves, and we may have grown, perhaps, or we feel that we have grown, and then when we come across, you know, this gentleman who seems 10 times sharper than you are, you realize you really do not know your game at all. You don't know your game. It's so disheartening, you know, when to be deceived. That's another thing. And I'll touch on that, because most times these men do deceive us women. They do deceive us. They tell us that because, like I said, he studied you. He will tell you the right things. He will do the right things. He will behave in the right way to not upset you, because he's either seen something in you, like a narcissist would, that he wants to benefit from you, that he wants to gain from you, that he wants to use you for, and you are completely clueless. You're completely clueless. You just want a title of a wife. You want a title of a Mrs. So-and-so. Maybe he's a barrister. Maybe he's a doctor. Maybe he is, one of those high professions, those blue-collar professions. And you are obviously, you are in this mindset of, he is the one. Is it a blue-collar or white-collar? I always get those two confused, but I think you know where I'm going. I think I just thought about that. But I think you know where I'm going. So you just feel, you just want to be titled because he's your, you want to be a wife. You want to be titled. So you don't care whether he is an alcoholic. He may be an abusive person. And then all of a sudden you think, all I need to do is just to make sure that I don't get him angry and everything is going to be perfect. Really? Really? You cannot live your life wanting to constantly pacify somebody just to maintain that facade you have created for the whole world to see. You can't do that. That is already a lie. Then God didn't bring you two together. That's how you can tell God did not bring you two together. When you start lying, not only to yourselves, but to everybody around you, just to maintain that facade of an engagement. Or even a marriage. Some of us go as far as being married. Ne? We go as far as being married to these people, only to realize, I don't know what I saw in this person. And this can happen 1, 2, 3 years from then. Really, it can. Sometimes you can even notice as immediately as a wedding day. I mean, I think some of you have seen viral videos on YouTube where you can see the groom literally slapping his bride, or vice versa for that matter. I don't know why people have put so much pressure on themselves to do things that they shouldn't be doing, that they don't need to do for absolutely no reason. I'm helping you to understand that there is no need for you to pressure yourself. There is no need for you to put so much pressure on yourself as a man, as a woman, to make sure that you're married. And I know that our parents sometimes are the backbone of this pressure. There's this parent, man, yeah, you know, at the back, you must get married, you must get married. I know that that song, as repetitive as it sounds, it can be annoying, but it also is the foundation of leading you into very disastrous relationships, because you want to make your parents happy. Because for some strange reason, we feel that when we haven't completed this particular phase in our lives, then we have disappointed our parents and we have let them down. As I was saying, that some of us have even gotten married and you realize later. Go for counseling first. You may have just started off wrong. You may have both lied to each other and deceived each other. You may have really genuinely started off wrong, but you're meant to be together. There are certain things like right partners, wrong timing. There is something like that. Obviously, because it means you guys still need to grow together. You need to mature together. I mean, you need to grow separately. You need to mature separately before you guys are eventually united by God. So take your time. It's just sad when you, I think what I'm trying to prevent in this video is I'm preventing, if there's somebody right now who is doubting that marriage and you've been engaged, please don't get married. I can tell you now, it is going to be a very painful road for you. There is, if you're a Christian and you see in the Bible, there is nothing that helps you when it comes to divorce. There is no word of encouragement. There's no word of how to get through it. There is just no word on divorce. There's nothing. And it's really painful. it's a very painful. It takes a lot from you, because it takes a lot from your partner, because it's a ripping apart of two souls that were united as one. It is very taxing. If you've got children, it's going to be even more taxing. So if you're engaged and you're listening to this video, please take your time. Take your time. Sometimes it even requires you just keeping distance from that person. Excuse me, even after they've put the ring, to say, you know what, if that person loves you, I tell you, they'll give you a break. They'll give you space. Because it's better to have a broken engagement than a broken marriage. It's better to have a broken engagement than a broken marriage. It is absolutely painful to have to go through a divorce, to have to go through all of that separation of assets, that division of assets, and then now it is a schedule that has to be created for, support by both children, by both parents for children, and how, parents are going to be sharing, what you call this, visitation and stuff like that. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. And if you can prevent it by just taking your time, can you imagine how much anguish you can save yourself in the future? Tons and tons of anguish saved. So please take your time. Guard your heart, guard your thoughts. Don't be moved by that moment. Don't be trapped by that moment. Still, I encourage you to grow yourself. I encourage you to believe in yourself. I encourage you to pray. I encourage you to fast about it, because it is a major decision. And talking about major decisions, if you haven't watched my previous video, which is beware of your state of mind or your state of being when you're making major decisions, please go back and watch that video and then come back and watch this one. Then you'll understand where I'm coming from. It is painful. It is painful, family. So I also was one of those people that learned very painfully that just because he put a ring on my finger, he was not my husband. He wasn't meant to be my husband. Fiance, or whatever the case is. Be very careful, family. Be very careful. I can't emphasize that enough. So I hope that this video has shed a lot of light. I hope that even if you are in that marriage and you realize you two don't belong to each other, I pray that God gives you wisdom. I pray that God gives you insight as to how to handle that situation, especially when you've got children. I really feel for you if you feel the need to be trapped in that relationship because of obligation. There is a video that I recorded of relationships of convenience and relationships of obligation or relationships of convenience and obligation. Please go back to that video. I know it's long, but it's got key points, because most times, because of the facade we've created, there's a ripple effect of the things and the decisions that we've made, and as a result, when children are around, we stay because of the children. But guess what? We have extramarital affairs because we are trying to cope with the pain. We are trying to subdue, hide, just to keep moving, just to keep us going, just to have that adrenaline rush that will keep you moving. Sometimes, even in African culture, you'd be surprised that when you talk to aunties, they will tell you, sometimes that extramarital affair is exactly what you need, to boost your marriage. There's a word for that in the Bible, by the way. There's a word for that in the Bible. I don't encourage it. And just because you have done it and you found yourself in your relationship and you have cheated on your spouse, I pray that you stop if you're still doing it, and I pray that you repent. Ask God if it's something that you should reveal to your partner so the two of you can go for counseling. It requires wisdom. It's a very sensitive topic. It's a very sensitive topic. You need to speak to somebody of a really high authority in the church that can really counsel you through that difficult period. I don't encourage affairs at all, for whatever reason. But people do them. We do them. We're human. We're human. So I hope that you are hearing what I'm saying. I don't want us to get to that point where, because we are now in a relationship and he's put a ring in, because we're married, now we have to live these lives of being perfect because he's a doctor. I can't see him, hanging around riffraffs. There's a certain standard of life that I have to maintain because of the circle. And maybe he's a surgeon, whatever the case is. Maybe he's a lawyer or whatever the case is. And there's a really high profile of people. Maybe he's, a prominent figure in government or whatever the case is. whoever it is, don't be moved by a person's title, but just, you know, when they've put a ring on you, to say, oh, this, I'm going to be this. You don't know what it takes to be that. I remember, just to close this video quickly, I remember Bishop T.D. Jakes, when he said, some of you know, you want to have a man like me, and you want to be in a relationship with a man like me. Are you really prepared for that? If you were to sit down and have a conversation with my wife, do you think that this is something you'd want, to have a man who's constantly surrounded by women who are crying, who are always wanting a hug and a word of encouragement, who always want his attention? Is that what you really want? The same thing with whatever man you have gotten engaged to, who is who's of prominence in the society. You don't know what his role comes with. So because you're moved by that ring and the facade that you've created, you don't know what it's going to take from you to be with that person. So don't be envious of titles. This is where I'm coming from. Just because he's put a ring on your finger does not mean he's your husband. There is someone for everybody. Bishop T.D. Jakes' wife was definitely groomed for that role she is in. Probably no other woman, and every other, let me put it this way, and probably every other woman married to a pastor has been groomed. Probably every other woman that is married to a pastor has been groomed right from childhood to be in that role, because she has her part to play in the ministry. So if you feel that you are ready, and all of a sudden you say, yes, no matter what it is, I'm going to do it. How do the other women do it? I will do it. You know, right, I'm just going to cut this video short. I think I have made as much pointers as I can, and I hope that they make sense. Please make sure that you drop a comment in the comment section below. I would love to hear your comments and to hear what you have to say. You can agree, whether you're agreeing with me, whether you're disagreeing with me, we are having an intimate conversation. So I am signing out on this channel. It's been great chatting to you guys. I love talking to you. Please reach out to me. I look forward to it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Intimate Conversations with Francis O'Brien, healing one heart at a time. Until then, be blessed and stay blessed always.